time set for hearing in this matter. The matter was just filed, and it was filed concurrent with an ex parte motion. Order was entered on an ex parte basis as a result of that motion, granting the father, Mr. Belkamp, extended parenting time with the child, suspending the mother's parenting time pending further hearing, and this hearing was set in the order as well. And as I indicated, both parties are here and will proceed. Mr. Shepherd, do you want to give me an update on the status of the matter?
Yeah, Your Honor, I can do that. First and foremost, court's correct. We did file a cut in the parties executed an affidavit of parentage, and so that there. As my ex parte motion indicates, Judge, my client's has some serious concerns about what's going on with mom. He's very familiar with her history, as my motion lays out. She has had quite the success, I guess, track record. She's had two children of hers, rights to her two children of hers terminated, as I understand it. This particular child, who's just over a year old, Judge, the parties had shared in raising her up until their separation approximately 8 months ago. They've been sharing 50-50 since that time, although there has not been an order to that effect entered. Essentially what happened is out of the blue, prior to this, my client had been sharing concerns with mom about choices that she's making. All of a sudden, in response to that, she cuts him off, doesn't talk to him, didn't allow him to have parenting time with Alexis that he has had since they separated. In that regard, my client is of the opinion that mom may be using illegal substances again. We're going to be asking for a hair follicle drug test. My client's willing to submit to same. He'll pay for that, Judge. Mom's been keeping some interesting company. I have text messages which were attached to my motion where she indicates that she's in the presence of a man by the name of Ricky. I know that particular person to be a Ricky Honeysett from previous cases that I've been involved with. I understand that Mr. Honeysett has a prison history and a pretty decent rap sheet. That was a few years ago. I don't know what he's been doing since then, but I understand he's a tattoo artist through what I learned from my client. Unfortunately, Ms. Collins has also admitted that she's in the presence of a guy by the name of, I believe it's a Tyler, attached his Otis information. Looks like he did a prison stint of 3 years to 20 years for CSE first degree, stemming from a Kent County case back in 2014. She's admitted that she's had this particular person in this baby's presence. My client informs me that Ms. Collins does not have a house, that she kind of floats between a camper at her mother's place and then her brother's home in Sand Lake. It's my understanding she's unemployed. She doesn't have a license, doesn't have a vehicle that she can rely upon. And with her history, Your Honor, and with some of the things she's doing, my client felt it necessary to essentially establish some stability here while we work through this case. As I said, we did file a complaint for custody. It looks like, in speaking to my client, he would be agreeable to some supervised parenting time for mom. I don't know that we're going to solve all of our issues in the next half hour or whatever we have left for today's hearing. But those are essentially the concerns as laid out. My client has his own home where the parties actually lived while the minor child was born, and for the first several months of her life. She has her own bedroom there. My client has a strong family support system. He has a job. He has a car. He has all of the things necessary to give this child what she needs until mom can essentially get it together. If she's willing to submit to a drug test, as I've said, my client will pay for same, and we could do that at the conclusion of our hearing today. So what we're asking for, Judge, is that the extended parenting time continue until there could be a longer evidentiary hearing, that mom have supervised parenting time. We're open to where that would take place, who would be the supervisor. And in the meantime, that mom not allow anybody with a felony history, CSE history, or any boyfriend or male paramour that she has who shouldn't be around this kid. She needs to do a far better job of that, because obviously that can lead down roads that nobody here wants to go. So that's what we're requesting here today, Judge.
As far as the drug test goes, I have no problem doing that. The Tyler and Ricky thing, I had talked about getting a tattoo and I didn't. I have not been around them with my child. But they were just working at Alex's tattoo shop and she was around them all the time. Not saying that, but she has not been around them. And I don't float back and forth between my mom's camper and my brother's house. I live at my brother's house. She has her own room here. Just because I don't have my own house and my own car doesn't mean she doesn't get the needs that she needs. She has a roof over her head, food in her stomach. She goes to her doctor's appointments. So, but I'm open to whatever I got to do to get my kid. And I
Yeah.
also have text messages and pictures of them working at his tattoo shop too. So
Yeah, but them working at my tattoo shop is a lot different than.
Hey, Alex. Hey, not yet.
Oh, okay.
but they were around your kids all the time at the tattoo shop. I understand them working at the tattoo shop. I get what you're saying, but I haven't even, just because I talked to somebody about getting a tattoo done or a tattoo covered up, I don't feel that makes me a bad mom for having, like, my kid hasn't seen them when I had her. Go ahead, I'm done.
Well, let me swear you both in. Both raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you give this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Mr. Veldkamp, what information do you have that Ms. Collins may be using illegal substances that would necessitate a hair follicle drug test?
Well, like he had stated before, we've been split up for about 7 to 8 months. And I mean, the first 4 months, we were doing everything perfectly fine, 50-50. There was no issues. We'd call, we'd drop her off. She'd drop her off. We'd meet up. We'd switch baby. And then all of a sudden, up until a couple months ago, everything has just gotten real complicated with meeting up and just all the text messages and stuff like that, man. It's just kind of took a turn.
All right, but what part of all
May-
that led you to believe she might be using? I mean, what substances are you concerned about? Let's start there, I guess.
Well, I mean, she got a long history with methamphetamine, and then I mean, drinking alcohol. I mean, just the abundance of nasty text messages at 12:30, 1:30 o'clock in the morning. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not normal behavior for
So
someone
some
who's not
so some irregular behavior then?
right.
Is that behavior you witnessed when she was using methamphetamine?
Yes, sir.
May I speak?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
I gave you a chance, so now I got some questions for him. Sir, do you know Ricky Honeyset and Tyler Schoonmaker?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how do you know them?
Ricky worked for me about 2 years ago, for about probably 2 months. And then I had to let him go due to some reasons, obviously, we all know of. And then Tyler worked for me for a couple months too. And
I don't
had to
know.
let
I
him
don't.
go.
I don't know. I don't know about him. What reasons we all know of? That doesn't tell me anything.
Well, I mean, we don't need to go in the guy's backlog history, but I mean, when I got with him, as far as talking about bringing him on as a tattoo artist, I mean, he kind of told me one story and promised me a gold road, and 2-3 months later, it was definitely the complete opposite. You know what I mean? I mean, he was just sporadic, and I mean, he wasn't there when he was supposed to be there. I mean, he wasn't a reliable person.
Okay, so nothing criminal or sinister or anything like that. He just wasn't a reliable employee.
Right.
Okay, all right. And then what about Schoonmaker, Tyler Schoonmaker?
Yeah, he worked for me too for probably, I'd say, about 6 months or so, 6-7 months or so, and then he just got busy with his other job, doing lawn care and plowing and stuff like that. His schedule just wasn't meeting our schedule as far as when I needed him to be in there working. He just couldn't hold up to his end of when he could work and when he couldn't work.
All right. So your concerns with those two have more to do with their history than any dealings you've had with them, I guess. Is that fair to say?
Right, correct. Because I mean, them working for me and me being there here or there stop in to check on things is a lot different than me going there with my child and hanging around them. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I can walk down Skid Row all day long and never have to worry about nothing. You know, it's just, I don't have that type of history. I don't have to worry about falling off track.
So ma'am, you don't hang out currently with Ricky Honeysett or Tyler Schoonmaker?
No, I don't, sir. I made a post on Facebook, and this whole thing started is why he thinks I fell off a couple months ago was because, yes, I could say I overreacted because we were talking, and he's already told me he was using me and all this other stuff to help him out with like food and whatnot. Like, he showed up with his girlfriend, and yes, I did post mean, nasty things on Facebook, which I'm admitting I'm taking ownership for that, and I shouldn't have done it, but I did, and I can't take it back. And I have apologized to Mr. Veltkamp, and the whole texting or me being not normal, like, we have talked on Snapchat at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, it's not abnormal for me to be up. Like, but no, I do not hang out with Ricky Honeysett or Tyler Schoonmaker. I made a post about getting a tattoo covered up on me of Alex's name, more or less just to kick the beehive, which I'm admitting. And yeah, so they've never been around Ricky or Tyler
All right,
since
where are you
she's
living?
been in my care.
Where are you living right now?
I live in St. Brother's house. That's where I stay. And I don't go to my mom's because I know I can't have a child there because she doesn't have running water all year round. So for Alex to make that statement is false. She has her own room here. I've sent Alex pictures.
Who's your brother?
Yes, sir.
And are you employed right now?
No, I'm not.
You don't have a license or a car either?
No, I'm working on that. I had to get a new ID. I had to renew it, but they sent it to the wrong address. So they had to send it back. And now I'm waiting on it. They said 1 to 2 weeks. And as soon as I get that, I'm going to work with my dad and my brother who work at the same place. It's transportation until I can get enough money to get my license and get a car. But I still don't feel like that's no reason to take my kid from me. If you think I'm using drugs, then I have no problem submitting to a drug test at all.
Okay, good.
But I don't feel like, because I don't have my own house, because I don't have my own car, I don't feel like them are reasons to take my kid from me.
Okay, and I would agree with that. But I guess you can't run away from your past. I mean, I've presided
No.
over some or all of the hearings in which your parental rights were terminated to 2 kids, and there are a lot of concerns there. And if there's a chance that some of those concerns are resurfacing, that's a big deal. So I guess that's where I'm coming at it from, more than what's in the motion is just my knowledge of your history from those cases.
Right. Yeah, no, I completely agree, but I've come a long ways, and I've come a long ways from where I was at.
Okay,
But yes,
and I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that because there was a case filed on Alexis too, but
Right, yeah.
that case didn't go that route because you were doing better. I just want to make sure, I guess, that there hasn't been a regression and you're not having some of the same old problems, some of those old demons
Absolutely
coming
not.
back to haunt you at this point.
Right. Yeah, it's not even a thought. But I think because of everything that I've posted on Facebook and just everything I've said, I think this is Alex's way of, and I could be wrong, but I think this is his way of, like, I'm not sure.
All right. So
Trying to bring out my past against me, more or less.
I get that. But, so you got no problem taking a hair follicle, is that what you said?
No, absolutely not.
And sir, you'd take one too, although they might have to get creative with the sample with you. I don't know.
Don't you dare make fun of people with that haircut, Your Honor. That's not nice.
So I guess, and sir, you said you're willing to pay for both?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Hey, Judge, if I could just remind the court too, I'm looking at text messages from Ms. Collins indicating that my client shouldn't have a problem with me and Alexis being with Ricky right now. And an additional text message from Ms. Collins, and I understand that she's saying, well, she was kicking the beehive, but my client directly asked her, not a chance, shit's a rap, you wanted to be dumb, so you're admitting to have a convicted sexual offender around my kid, and her response is, laugh out loud, so did you. I mean, I don't think this is a situation where she's just kicking the beehive. I think this is a situation where she was considering these folks as romantic relationships, and clearly admitting she's having this 1.5-year-old child around these guys. And that, in addition to her history, which the court is well aware of, is very concerning. So maybe she'll agree to say, hey, I won't do that. And if she'd do that, that would really help.
All right, so if we're gonna do this hair follicle and have a hearing in a week or two and consider the results and all that good stuff, how do we get Ms. Collins some parenting time in the meantime?
We're open to suggestion, Your Honor. I don't know. Supervised would be the request, and I don't know her brother. Maybe he's got a wife, or I don't know. I'll leave that to Mr. Belkamp because I want him comfortable too. But as the court indicates, I want to make this happen, and it should start. I don't know whose week it was going to be, but we're open to that.
Mr. Belkamp, what do you know about Sean? Is he a trustworthy individual?
Yes, sir. Yep, he is.
All right, so if she lives there, as long as her parenting time occurs at the house and the child sleeps at the house, and there's an order prohibiting Mr. Honeysett and Mr. Schoonmaker from being around the child, or I guess anybody with a felony. I don't know. Does Sean Connolly?
No, he's never even been to jail. Him or his girlfriend.
All right, so if the parenting time would occur there, the child would spend the night there. Is that an issue, Mr. Belkamp?
Well, I mean, if the child actually stays the night there, she's saying that she's at her brother's.
This
That would
judge-
be the order, so if I found out she was violating that, then that would short circuit her parenting time pretty quickly if it was brought to my.
Okay.
Other than that, like during the day for coming and going, maybe taking a trip to the store or going to a park or seeing a movie, do you think that all needs to be supervised as well? Like eyes on her at all times or what?
I would say eyes on her all times, man. Not having a license, not having a vehicle. How is she getting to these places?
I don't know. Does Mr. Jones live in town or does he live out in the sticks or what?
They're about 10 minutes east of Sand Lake, I'd say. 8-10 minutes east of Sand Lake.
All right, so they're not gonna be walking around town and then going to playgrounds and stuff like that. They'd have to get a ride is what you're saying.
Right.
All right, well, I can put that in there too. The child must be transported and with appropriate restraints by a licensed driver and a registered vehicle and all that good stuff. Ma'am, does your brother and his, you said girlfriend, she lives there too?
Yes,
What's her name?
Katie. Yeah,
Do they both work?
yes, they do.
Do they work every day? Do they work weekends?
Yes, no, they work every day.
No weekends?
Katie might, but I'm not sure. My brother just switched to a different job, so I'm not. He don't usually work on the weekends. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, let's see how quick we can get you back in front of me and then maybe that'll, usually those hair follicles, they can get them done pretty quickly, but then they send them off for verification and that can take a week to 10 days.
My Honor's been a couple of weeks, but yeah, I think that's probably doable.
So if I were to reset this for the 17th, maybe, you got time that afternoon? So in the meantime, ma'am, is there someone there you can ask if they have to work, maybe next weekend or?
No, they're actually both at work right now. My brother gets back around like 3, I think. I could probably message her real quick.
Mr. Belkamp, do you know Katie, the girlfriend?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay,
Can I speak?
sure.
If you live there full time, Amber, how do you not know their work schedule?
Because Katie works in a nursing home, so and she's literally about to go on. She's about to have a baby, like 2 weeks. So her schedule's like really hit or miss. And my brother just switched to a different job in Grand Rapids, so I'm assuming he's gonna have to work, but Katie, I'm not so sure about.
Hey, Judge, the good news is we'll have time to figure this out between now and next weekend.
Yeah. And Katie just messaged me back and she said she does not work. I'm not sure about Sean.
All right, I'll put it in the order like this, that Ms. Collins is at parenting time 2 times each week between now and that next hearing, supervised by Sean. Which could include overnight parenting time on the weekends, as long as he's available to do that. So I guess without him here, I'm kind of obligating him to something. Hopefully he's okay with it, but the 3 of you will need to sit down and kind of work that out. Just a couple times between now and the next hearing, so hopefully you can get that done. And once we have those hair follicle results, I'll be a little more comfortable moving forward. All right.
My client will make payment arrangements. Obviously, the only thing we would request is that if he comes back clean and she comes back dirty, that he would be reimbursed for what he spent. She's clean and that he wouldn't be asking for reimbursement, Judge.
All right, she'll reimburse, ma'am. So you're going to reimburse him the cost of the hair follicle if you're
Absolutely, absolutely.
all right, and
Absolutely.
that would marijuana is not really something we get all bent out of shape about anymore because it's legal, but any illegal substances or anything like that, you'd be expected to pay that back, and that would be something that would obviously be considered moving forward. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll put in there, well, no bleaching or dyeing hair.
I mean, you see my hair.
No,
It's grown out. It's grown out from when it was dyed last time. So I'm not going to be trying to
yeah, you've got plenty.
fake a test.
Mr. Belkamp, maybe they'll take some
Yes.
off your chin there. I don't know. That'll be up to Michelle. So, all right. Anything else for today then?
I think we're all set. Looking forward to getting back together. Appreciate everybody's
And
time,
Jessica's
especially the courts.
back,
And
both are here with
we'll see you
counsel,
soon.
Mr. Sweeting for the defendant, Ms. Korndike for the plaintiff. And this is a date and time set to review the prior order for parenting time. There was a parenting time motion filed by the defendant through counsel, and it's been heard a couple times, and I don't think Mr. Plus had appeared to this point, and now he has, so that's good. The last order was on February 2nd, granted Ms. Beck parenting time supervised by Mr. Plus on February 11th, 18th, and 25th from noon to 2 in Fremont. And then the review. So I guess, Mr. Sweeting, this started with your motion. Do you have any kind of update, or is there an agreement going forward?
No, as far as I know, there's no agreement going forward. There have been no discussions about any agreement going forward either. I don't want to misrepresent and say that we've tried. I would view today as a review of what's happened and ask you to set what's next. And frankly, to that end, February 11th, the parenting time did occur. Tyler was 20 minutes late showing up for it, left at 2:10. So, 10 minutes short, that's not a big deal. The child seemed happy. He was shy, but happy. It was a good visit. In fact, at that visit or shortly thereafter, she asked my client to bring her brother and sister to the next one. But as soon as the visit was over and my client got home, she started getting some pretty serious texts. First from Sabrina, who I understand is Tyler's ex-girlfriend, who has visitation with this child informally every other weekend, indicating that it was her child and she was going to do everything she could to interfere. I've attached those texts as well as Tyler's text following up the parenting time to a motion to contempt that's going to be heard on the 23rd. And then frankly, you should probably review that motion. There has not been an answer filed to it yet. February 18, there was no parenting time because Tyler didn't show up, sent her a text right around the time of the parenting time saying that he was having transmission issues. But again, if you review those texts leading up to the February 18th parenting time, I think you'll see that that's probably a ruse. But he was a no-show, so that didn't happen that day. And that was actually what prompted the motion for contempt after that was missed. February 25th, Tyler showed up at 12:30 instead of 12 o'clock. His mother and father came at 1:56, interrupting the parenting time, so that really it didn't occur after that point until they all left the McDonald's at 2:15. And then he sends her a text threatening to bring other family members or ex-family members of my client or people that he obviously knows don't like her to the next parenting time. And that all was not in the motion to show cause because it's happened since I filed it. based upon the 2 parenting times, though, and talking to my client, it seems like this child knows my client, is comfortable with my child, if not shy because of the animosity that's displayed between 2 sides here. And the child's very well aware of it. We feel the child's likely either being pressured directly or indirectly, but we don't know what goes on in his home. In any event, we'd like the time set aside for her to have some parenting time without his family or him present. And so we would suggest that we go to an overnight, like a Saturday to Sunday, every other weekend, or if the court doesn't feel comfortable doing that, a full Saturday or a full Sunday, where either she can do it unsupervised, because I don't see any reason that she needs a supervisor, or again, the supervisor that's been proposed all along, Lisa Flowers, can certainly do it. Now, I would also point out Lisa was at the first parenting time on February 11th, sitting off to the side and observed everything that I've referenced.
Ms. Gondik?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you so much. In talking with my client, yes, obviously she knows that Miss Beck is her mother, but there has been a significant gap in, contact with her mother. So my client reports that she's uncomfortable. She's polite at the visits, of course, but she's uncomfortable. She's not really wanting to do them. And she's not in favor of having an overnight. And actually, Miss Beck asked if she would like to have an overnight, and the child declined that at this time. There's only been 2 supervised parenting times at this point. My client did have transmission issues. He did communicate that with Miss Beck. He actually works every other Saturday. So this every Saturday parenting time was difficult for him to arrange, but he does have every other Saturday off and is able to provide longer times on Saturdays if that's what the court wants. We just don't feel at this time, with how much time has passed with contact, not having contact between the daughter and the mother, that an overnight should occur at this time. We believe that some more time for introduction is probably appropriate. And the only reason that my client brought some people to the parenting time is because Miss Beck did. This last parenting time, she had her ex-boyfriend and her boyfriend. Although they didn't interact with the child at all, there was some extraneous family members. So I think that both parties need to make an effort to make sure that they're there to support the child and maybe not have all these other distractions going on.
All right, so any good reason why your client didn't show up for the last couple of hearings?
His work schedule is quite difficult, Your Honor, and that was on him. And I explained to him that it's very important that he shows up to court hearings. He didn't have counsel at that time, but now that counsel is involved, he will be showing up from here on out.
Okay,
I'd like to respond.
all right, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think Chloe has demonstrated anything at the parenting times that would indicate that she's unsure or nervous. I get maybe would answer that she doesn't necessarily want to sleep somewhere she has never visited before. And that's why I offer the 2 alternatives. But let's not forget the fact that he's giving this child up to Sabrina, his ex-girlfriend, every other weekend, despite the fact that there's multiple domestic violences between the 2 that Chloe was even a witness to. And at one point, CPS warned that this woman wasn't supposed to be around Chloe. So if he's so concerned, why is he doing that? I really think, Judge, referee, what you're hearing is just dragging the feet as long as we can play this out. And I think that it's better for the child to keep moving forward. The missed parenting time is not something that should be penalized. My client, she was there. And in fact, she indicated to me earlier that day that she was getting those texts, and I told her to go anyway, and she did. And, she wasted her time. He's given you no reason to believe what he says is true.
So at first blush, without hearing anything other than the statements from counsel, because of the length of time that's gone by, I'm convinced that supervised parenting time should probably continue for you know, some short period of time. I don't think it needs to be for very long, but just to make the child, or get to the point where the child's fully comfortable with the mother. But I'm equally as convinced after hearing the statements from counsel that Mr. Plus shouldn't be the supervisor, that it should be an independent third party. And that creates, you know, a little bit of a barrier because the court doesn't employ a person to do supervised parenting time. The nearest ones I know of that operate facilities are in Grand Rapids, and if you're in Big Rapids and Twin Lake, that's not real convenient. I understand that. There is
Court
a
has,
what?
we've nominated Lisa Flowers. She was Celia at the time before, and she's still involved. She was at the first parenting time. The child knows her. My client lives with her, so it would give an opportunity for her to get acquainted with her residents. And we would suggest that person. She's here too, if you'd like to ask her any questions.
Well, I guess before we do that, Ms. Korndike, is your client opposed to Lisa Flowers, or does he agree to that?
Hold on one second here. We agree to Lisa.
Oh, okay.
And
Um,
I suggest we do like 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Saturdays or Sundays.
So is that in,
My client lives they live together.
so that's the same address your client has reported for front of the court stuff?
Correct.
Okay,
And I don't think every other weekend is sufficient. My client can do the transportation.
your client will do the transportation?
If that's what it takes,
Oh, I was gonna have him meet in the middle, but
that's fine. But if he's got work relations, I just don't want her to not have parenting time. That's all.
right, okay. Sir, what's your work schedule look like on Saturdays?
Saturdays is usually 4 to 12:30.
4 in the
4
morning?
p.m.
Oh, 4 p.m.
4 p.m. to 12 p.m.
And that's
Alright.
every other weekend, Your Honor.
Every other?
Yep.
And then, oh, okay. And then is somebody home or is the house empty when you go to work?
Chloe's home.
So the child's home alone
Yes,
from
10-year-old.
4 until like midnight?
yes. She has her own phone. We keep constant contact.
All right,
She's
I'm only 10 minutes away.
Overnight.
what is she, like 11 or 12?
11,
She's
about
11.
to be 12.
All right, so if Lisa Flowers is supervising, do you mind if she goes on those Saturdays and spends the night with her mom, as long as Lisa Flowers is there and supervising?
Chloe is not comfortable with her mom. She has no interest in doing this, and she does not want to go overnight.
I think maybe just to start, Your Honor, maybe a couple of the longer times for a couple weekends and then see, how the child reacts. And obviously, I think it would be, if you're considering every other weekend, Your Honor, I don't know what you are, but the weekends he would be at work would be then a good weekend for her to have parenting time.
Well, I don't want to do that because then the child's being dropped back off to an empty house at some point. I would rather,
That's fine. I was just making a suggestion.
I would suggest this.
that
Your
would
Honor.
be, either the weekends he doesn't work, so that he's there when she goes, there when she gets home, or the weekends he does work, and it could be the amount of time could be essentially the same. It would just be, maybe a morning exchange so that the child's not being dropped off to the empty house in the middle of the night, like I said, or home alone until midnight after she's been dropped off to an empty house.
Okay. Obviously, we'll leave it to the discretion of the court, but we would prefer the weekends that he's not at work, Your Honor.
I think it's important while we're reestablishing relationships that the parenting times be frequent.
Well, what's it been? It's been every week.
Every Saturday.
It was every other, but only 2 of them occurred.
Well, you did the Saturdays, the 11th, the 18th, the 25th. That's every Saturday.
So, sir, where's the child? So, who's Sabrina?
My ex, yes,
Okay, the child goes and visits her on occasion?
on occasion, yes,
Is that on weekends or is that during the week or is it? all
during weekends.
Every other.
Is it the weekends you work usually then or the weekends that you don't?
The ones that I do work.
Okay, so she's usually with Sabrina when you do work. She's not home alone all night.
And for the record, Your Honor, he actually has a child with Sabrina. So then they're, she's with her brother.
Okay. So where's Sabrina live? Oh,
We would like her parenting time.
well, that's a lot better because that's a lot closer to Twin Lake. That's like 15, 20 minutes, right? Instead of.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea to send my client to her home though,
Okay.
based on the text that I've reviewed.
Let's see. I guess based on what I've heard, is there anything else that I haven't heard that either of you want me to hear?
It would just be argument on my part.
You want to argue with me or with Ms.
I'm a lawyer.
Courtney?
I like to argue.
Argument in the legal sense.
Right, of course.
All right, I guess at this point, my recommendation would be based on the fact that I do think that supervised visits are appropriate until the relationship is further established, that Ms. Flowers is the agreed upon supervisor and that the defendant actually lives with her, so that shouldn't be difficult. Is she available every Saturday?
Yes,
All right. The parenting time will occur each Saturday for the next 90 days from 10 until 6. On the days that are Saturday that Mr. Pless does not work, the parties will exchange the child at 10 and 6. And on the other weekends that the plaintiff does work, then the child would be exchanged with Sabrina at 10 and 6 to be about midway between Twin Lake and New Era. What do you want to say, ma'am?
we're just a little reluctant to be meeting with Sabrina. I don't know if you've reviewed those texts, but she's pretty hostile to my client. But it's in a
I've not
location.
seen him. I guess I can do every other weekend. I don't care. I can
No,
just-
that's fine. We'll do it. We'll do it. It's in a public location. I'm gonna tell my client just to hold her tongue.
Okay.
She will.
And I don't technically, in this case, have jurisdiction over Sabrina to really make her do anything. So I guess, Mr. Pless, you need to understand that you're ultimately responsible that the child ends up doing the parenting time from 10 and 6, and Sabrina needs to be made aware of that either she agrees to meet at 10 and 6 and exchange the child, or you're gonna have to, I guess I'll put that in there, that if Sabrina refuses to do that, then it would be up to you to meet Jessica in Fremont, but she'll have to be given reasonable notice so she knows which way to go.
I only have one question. Why 90 days?
Why 90?
Yeah. Why not come back for a review in another 30 or 45?
Well, I don't know. Hold that out of the air as a reasonable period of time to address the relationship between a mother and daughter that really haven't seen each other in what, 8 years?
I
If it had
believe
been-
it's
If it had
90
been,
days.
if it had been like 2 years or year and a half, yeah, maybe 3 or 4 supervised visits and boom, we move on, but this is 8 years. The child was,
4.
yeah, so basically has no recollection of mom at that point.
Just asking.
Okay. You want to set a date? I don't mind putting this on the calendar so we don't have to entertain more motions.
Yeah, why don't you just set it for a 90-day review then?
So we got the rest of March, April, May, June. So we're looking at well, right around the time school's out, so that's kind of convenient, I guess. June 9th, anytime. So, sir, do you anticipate any vacations that would in between now and then that would be impacted by that parenting time? Because I'm not opposed to you carving out a Saturday or two that parenting time does not happen if you have like out of town plans or something that you want to do. I don't want to tie up every weekend between now and then, but I want mom and child to have a sufficient opportunity to reestablish connection.
No, I don't have any vacation planned or nothing like that.
All right, I guess, Mr. Sweeting, if something did come up and Mr. Plus needed to be out of town with the child, because we're doing this every weekend, tell your client to be somewhat flexible with that. I wouldn't want it to happen more than maybe a couple times in the 90 days. If it was one or two times, I think that's reasonable though. All right, anything else for today?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, I'll do that order. Hopefully everything goes well. Mr. Sweeting, are you bent on having that contempt motion heard at this point, or are you okay putting that off until June 2 and see how everything goes?
I want to leave it there for right now, but I will consult with my client about that.
All right, I don't think it's in front of me is the problem.
I'm not, no, I know, but I'm not afraid, and I'll let the other side know this. I'm not afraid of trading that kind of a thing for good behavior or a better deal, you know, so. Yeah, I'll talk to her about it and I'll let opposing counsel know.
All right.
Perfect.
Are you sure it's on the 23rd?
The 22nd, my client's whispering in my ear. That wouldn't be the first time I've been wrong on a date.
22nd of March?
Yeah, let me look at my,
See, that would be with Judge Dykeman then, not me. So she's not gonna have any knowledge of.
yeah, it's true. All right, well, we'll talk about it. I'll let you know.
right.
But yeah, I guess you're right. It is in front of Judge Dykeman. It is on the 22nd. But, you know, if somebody objects to this, I suppose it will be in front of her anyway, so.
You want me to handle that at this point, and I can transfer it over to my calendar? I don't think she'd be opposed to giving up hearings.
No, that's fine. And if you can't do that date and time, just let my office know. We can reschedule it.
All right, that should work. I'll just put it on my calendar instead. As long as you're okay with that, Ms. Thorndike, since I have more knowledge of the case.
Yeah, I have no idea when it is actually, so I don't know the time, if somebody could give me a time.
March 22nd, 11 a.m. It's Zoom, and I have Dykeman Zoom instructions on it, but I guess that'll change. Just keep the ones you used for today.
Yeah, I have to be in person for the Snell hearing anyway, Your Honor, so that's fine. I'll be around if we have the hearing.
Okay, I got some juvenile stuff set for that same time, but we'll fit it in. I'll tell Judge to transfer it over to my calendar.
Okay,
Thank
All
you,
right.
Your Honor.
Sounds good. Yep,
Yeah.
we're all set for today. Yep.
thank you.